quite a while since I last made a video, so let's see if I can remember how to do this. It's going to be a brief update on what I have very recently finished and what I'm currently reading and planning to read. So last night I finished reading Sputnik Sweetheart. Sabrina from Unmanaged Mischief was reading this month. It sort of turned into a bit of a buddy read-along thing, so I finished reading this, enjoyed it, but not quite as much as I had hoped. Kafka on the Shore remains my favourite Murakami. Last night I finished listening to Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day. I think the way this is written really lends itself to audiobook. It's about a butler reflecting on his life as a butler, so it's very introspective. The narration for this was really fantastic as well. Then I'm currently rereading, and this is a real indulgence. I feel like I can mark this off as a guilty pleasure on the Book Riot challenge because I don't often reread books, but it's Christopher Isherwood's Goodbye to Berlin. I love Christopher Isherwood and I'm waiting for some secondhand copies of his other works to arrive in the post. So in the meantime, I am rereading this one and loving it as much as I did the first time. Then I'm reading some non-fiction. I am very nearly done with Where I'm Reading From by Tim Parks. This is a set of essays about reading and writing and why writers write. This is very interesting as a reader, but I also think that this would be a great one if you are a writer. It has lots of essays on the role of the artist and prizes, writing for prizes, and also international literature. Hopefully I'll be finished this by the end of the month and can talk about it in my wrap-up. And I've also read the first few chapters of Alan Turing, The Enigma by Andrew Hodges. This is the book that the film The Imitation Game was based on. As you can see, I've got the horrible shiny film cover of this, but it was going to take ages to order in another one, and this was on the shelf. So it's very, very interesting. I really enjoyed the film and wanted to learn more about Turing, and this is really shedding some light on the truth behind the film. I thought that this would be quite dry because the author is a mathematician and they're not generally known for their beautiful prose, but I was proved completely wrong with this. I'm finding it very compelling, easy to read. I haven't got to sort of the more technical mathematical side of things yet. Once I do, I might start flipping through things a bit more, but it's very interesting so far. The other non-fiction book that I'm currently reading is How Paris Became Paris, which has lots of interesting historical facts, but I'm not finding it that compelling to keep reading. It doesn't have a narrative as such. When it comes to reading history, I generally prefer things that have more of a human element, and this is mostly about the architecture and city planning. But I've just been reading a chapter at a time because I don't feel driven to keep reading once I've finished one chapter. It doesn't look like I've got very far, but there are a lot of notes in the back of this, so actually I'm probably about halfway through. And then still sort of ticking away in the background, we got Les Mis. The first 100 pages or so seem to be about one character who then gets killed off and we never hear of again. At least I don't think we hear of him again because he's been killed off. Yes, it is a bit rambly, and again, I don't feel particularly compelled to just keep reading and reading, but I will persevere. I will get this done. Just not anytime particularly soon, I wouldn't think. But I've got some other books that I hope to get to over the weekend. I've read a few things for #ReadSoulLit and Black History Month, but I've got a few more that I'm hoping to get to before the month is out. One is Toni Morrison's Beloved. I also read A Mercy by Toni Morrison earlier in the month and really, really enjoyed that. That was a 4.5-star book. Thoroughly enjoyable, really fascinating characters and different kind of perspective. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one, which is sort of considered her crowning glory. And she's got another book coming out later in the year, so that's exciting too. And I've got this really beat up copy of The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. It's an ex-library book, but I quite like this cover. And then I've also got Octavia Butler's Kindred, another relatively short book. Of course, everything looks short next to Victor Hugo, but yeah, I think I should probably be able to get through this fairly quickly. It's got reasonably large print. I've heard lots of good things about this, so I thought Black History Month would be a good time to get to reading it. So there we have it. That's what I've been reading and what I'm planning to read over the weekend. At this point, I would usually ask what you're reading this weekend, but instead I've got a request. This is for a friend's English project, and she's exploring the idea of women masquerading as men in literature. The examples that she has so far are Shakespeare's Twelfth Night and an Ali Smith book, and I've also suggested Siri Hustvedt's The Blazing World, as well as Virginia Woolf's Orlando and perhaps some of Shakespeare's sonnets. But if you guys have any other suggestions, I'd be really, really grateful. And that covers novels, novellas, poetry, short stories, film, any fictional accounts of women dressing as men for whatever reason. She's wanting to explore the reasons why women have done this in history through the medium of fiction. They can be from any genre as well. So I'd be super, super grateful if you could help me out with this. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend. I will hopefully be back next week with a video that maybe is a little more planned than this one was. But thank you anyway, and see you next time. Bye.